All right, welcome in to the latest edition of the Rob, Comrade, and Cael Show. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for checking us out on this Wednesday evening. Waiting on my two co-hosts. For some reason. They can't seem to get their shit together this evening. We are going to talk about some different things tonight. We've got... I thought about doing some sports conspiracy theories tonight because it's just something different. What up, Brock? How are you, man? Thanks for checking out the show. Appreciate you checking in with us every week. Thrills Mills, watching from good old Irmo, South Carolina. Mills, I put something together for you, just for you, Mills. I'm hoping that this works correctly. Tell me if you can hear this wonderful little quote that I put together just for you.
Fuck you. Yeah, that's my message for you. Fuck you and kiss my ass.
Yeah. Let me know if you guys actually heard that. I'm pretty sure that been working with my buddy Jay Boogie, the engineer, and I think we've got all of my stuff put into shape. I'm here because I can be, says Bartholomew Bob the Barner, E-I-E-I-O. I like it. I have more. What was the other one that I have for Mills?
True, when you were born, the doctor turned around and slapped your mother.
So... Come on, Mills.
You stupid, ignorant son of a bitch, dumb bastard. Jesus Christ, I met some dumb bastards in my time, but you outdo them all. Get over there.
So as soon as my co-hosts get here, there is the man that is in the Poconos. Welcome to the show, Cael Hall. What's up, brother?
Holy shit, I just realized you had sent me the link, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna be later than the comrade, but I see around.
Oh, no. Comrade's out eating a bag of something, man. He is always late. Cael, I was goofing off with the new sound stuff. Oh, what's up? Talk to the Paul. Appreciate you, man. I made my own soundboard. Check this out, Cael.
I don't like your jerk-off name. I don't like your jerk-off face. I don't like your jerk-off behavior. And I don't like you, jerk-off.
That's pretty cool, right? Oh, man.
Shitty-ass Skull Candy AirPods. Dude, no lie, bro. We've been driving all day long, and I've had them in a bag in the back of the car, right? And
right.
It keeps connecting to my fucking phone. And I want to connect it. Now they're not fucking connecting. Let's see if I can get them to connect. Fucking piece of shit. Hate these damn things. I don't know why I ordered them.
Cael's got problems.
I really don't.
Well,
I don't know why I ordered them. They're fucking stuck.
By the way, those following on Facebook, you should subscribe to Cael's YouTube channel.
Yeah, you
Carolina.
You should never buy anything from Skull Candy because despite the sweet name, it sucks.
Yeah.
The products are horrible.
Here you go, Cael.
You shit-kicking, stinky horse-smelling motherfucker, you.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, tonight's gonna be a little different. We've I've managed to get a gentleman on the phone that's supposed to call us if his satchel drops, and he's going to tell us tonight that I thought we'd talk about some conspiracy theories, not just in sports, but just in everything else. Supposedly, a gentleman's going to call that is he thinks that he's one of those 9/11 truther guys, which is going to be funny. And then we have another guy who tells me that my doctor lied to me about getting the coronavirus and that the coronavirus doesn't exist. I mean, 140,000 Americans.
You know, there's a lot of people with PhDs on Facebook nowadays. And,
I know. Well,
Twitter
this guy's obviously a doctor, Cael. We're going to have a doctor on the show.
Really?
That's pretty cool, right?
Cool. Dr. Quincy?
Obviously a doctor. I mean, you try to have the smartest people ever. The comrade and my wife think that this guy's going to stand us up. So anyway, we're just going to goof off tonight and talk stuff. That's the way that it's going to be. I do want to talk football too. Cael, a big thing. Of course, we're going to have football there. Destroy. A big thing that happened today. The Atlanta Falcons put out something that I think is going to seriously affect the football season. That being that they're only going to allow 20,000 fans at the most in the stands in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and everybody's got to wear a mask. Wow. That's crazy, right? Well, and I say that because they're going to have games. So, yeah, there's that. And if our gentleman doesn't call, we're going to preview Kentucky too. So, Comrade says that he is coming along here shortly. So we'll have the Comrade with us in a moment. But I want to thank everybody that's been following the show. Tony Jackson says the NCAA committee meets next Friday. Cael looks just like Larry of the Three Stooges on the show. Damn it. On the thumbnail for the show. Home game's not going to hit as normal. Welcome to the show, Comrade. You look like the Unabomber. Yeah, well, Comrade, you got your mic muted or something, dude. Figure it out because we're not hearing you. Turn your mic on there, Comrade. Anyway, Cael's in the Poconos as Comrade figures out how he's going to join the show. I mean, this is show number 330, and he doesn't know how to turn on his mic. Say something, Comrade, for God's sake.
It's great up here today. We had that was a huge storm up here today. I've never seen one up here, but man, it was brutal. I mean, the trees were going everywhere, and the power went out for a little while. Luckily, it's restored now, and everything's good. The internet up here, the internet connection here is really, really sound too this year. I remember the first couple of years I came up here where I'd try to get on the internet, and it was like a 2 soup cans and a string type thing. I don't know what they've done. They put some new Wi-Fi routers in the resort up here where we stay out. So right now it is awesome. Loving it. Couldn't be happier. Right, I've been in 3 states today. So
yeah. You were in New Jersey. I mean, why the hell would anybody go to New Jersey?
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's a pretty place.
Do you say
mountains? I mean, just right. I mean, across the river here, it's basically like the New Jersey mountains. It's like being like right up above Greenville, above Travelers Rest. I mean, it's really pretty. It's just such a small state that you go from mountains to the busy, shitty part in a lot quicker of a time than you do in South Carolina.
Yeah. Well, we have to thank our sponsors now that the Comrade has joined us and figured out how to turn on his microphone. Comrade, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Rich says, Mike looks like he hung out with me and smoked a fatty. Now, this is called watching a baseball game at a park with mosquitoes and 100-degree heat, and my contact lenses feel like they're crusty with crap. But, yeah.
Well, you look like the Unabomber that like ate a bunch of jail food. That's what you kind of look like.
I need a haircut. But
you don't need a haircut.
It was hot out there today. It was hot out there today.
Yeah, it was. So, yeah, there's that. All right, well, let's take care of our sponsors first. Callaway's Bar and Grill out in West Columbia. Highway 1 diagonal from the Walmart. They're going to sponsor our college football pick'em challenge, by the way, which we'll tell you about a little bit later on. It's the coolest contest ever. $20 to enter, and you can win a nice big Christmas bonus, basically. That's how that works out. Anyway, we'll get into that later on, but Callaway's Bar and Grill, Callaway'sBarandGrill.com. They have, of course, right there, Highway 1 diagonal from the Walmart in West Columbia. Go by and say hello to Billy and Mike and and all the folks there. They are practicing the social distancing. So you can come in and get yourself a beer and hang out for a minute, get you some dinner. Or if you're someone that wants to do the takeout thing, they will bring it to the road for you, so you don't even have to go inside. Callaway's Bar and Grill.com. We also have DNC Trucking and Transport, the No Spin Zone segment with the comrade. Comrade, read away.
It sucks to be a Gamecock. I wish that I had a man with the character that Dabo Sweeney has to run my football program. Did you know that Dennis Wilson has a very manly ass? He is also 4 inches taller than I am. Betty Wilson also hates me. I am the reason Cael Hall pisses in his resort sink. It's utterly shameful to be a Gamecock. Go Tigers.
That message courtesy of Dennis Wilson, DNC Trucking and Transport. He's been sponsoring our show for a long time. He does that because the comrade spins so much. And he literally said, Rob, I want to sponsor your show, but I want you to make the comrade say truthful things. And that's what we do.
This is back when Dennis hated me, though. Dennis hated me at the time. Now I'm like his brother.
He still hates you.
From a different mother. I'm like family now. I'm basically like Mike Wilson.
If you went to a Dennis Wilson family reunion, they'd string you up out in Swansea.
I'm basically like Mike. I'm basically Mike Wilson. That's what my other name is. I'm basically family.
There you go with that. We're gonna talk some football in a moment, but there was a gentleman that Mike and I had a little exchange with last night on Twitter, and we're gonna give him just a few minutes to call in.
Did he call in?
He hasn't called in yet, and I gave him the phone number. He said he was gonna call. We had 2 guys that said they were gonna call, and one of them said that he was smarter than all of us combined. He is, he says he's going to call. I don't know.
I wish we could get that guy to call in to the show that I sent you the screenshot of today.
Yeah. Apparently.
Daniel, he used to have his own YouTube channel called himself Couch Coach. And he was a Georgia fan. And something happened. I don't remember what it was, but he got into it with Uncle Lou. They kind of got into it back and forth. One of the knocks on Uncle Lou from some of the Georgia fans when he started, because Lou is a realist. He's like me. He was, even though Jake Fromm guided them to 42 victories or something in 3 years, Lou was never high on Jake Fromm. He always thought that they should have given that chance to Justin Fields. Hindsight 2020, he was right. He never liked him. I'll finish up later.
Stand by. Here is our first call of the evening. And good evening. Welcome in to the Rob Comrade and Cael show. What you got for the show tonight?
Hello, my name's Brandon Coon, and I'm a Gamecock fan.
Holy shit, it's Brandon Coon.
It's me. I had a call in tonight.
My son.
Yeah,
like Christmas.
My question for you guys is the Gamecocks have a football. The season happens this year. I'm really worried about the wide receiver position. And besides Shi Smith, they really don't have no proven players coming back. And I think this is the year or Trey Smith needs to step it up a little bit. What do you guys think?
Well, First of all, Brandon, we have missed you, and it's great that you've called into the show.
I had to call into the show. I love the show. It's the best thing going on.
Well, thank you, Brandon.
Well, first of all, Brandon only calls into big-time shows. He calls the Feinbaum. He calls into the Robin Comrade and Cael show.
Uh-huh.
And after this question, I was going to ask the Comrade and Cael about Adam Prentice. I think he's going to be a huge addition to the Gamecocks at the fullback position.
Fuck the fullback.
Coon,
Brandon, stop that bullshit.
That's why you're my son.
Do you know, Brandon, I'll answer the fullback question for you.
You got Rob Mayer.
Brandon, how many yards a carry does Adam Prentice have in his career?
That don't matter.
How does that not matter, Brandon?
It's going to be a whole different thing. Mike Bubba's going to have going this year at South Carolina with Adam Prentice. He's going to be blocking left and right, and we're going to be scoring touchdowns almost every possession, I believe.
Preach, Brandon Kuhn. Preach. We're going back to the future, my friend.
He's really like having a seventh offensive lineman, really.
It really is. He's basically.
Yeah, I agree with Cael on that one. Yeah.
And I want to talk about Ortre for a minute. You know, he was hurt all of 2018, right? Missed the whole season.
He's got that weird knee thing.
He missed a lot of last year too. But the thing about him is, yeah, he needs to step it up a little bit. But I mean, even if he does, and he plays the position that he's kind of been put into with his body type and that, Ortre's just he's not going to be that guy who's going to go downfield and get you 20 yards. I mean, he's just like that big possession type receiver. I mean, he's like a little bit smaller than a tight end, really. I mean, if he's playing at his best, I mean, you know, he's catching balls, but we're maybe getting 8-9 yards a clip from him. He's not a deep threat. He's not a guy who's going to play in the slot. He's not a guy who's going to, be hard to handle in space. So I think we need someone else to step up beside that. I'm interested to see what, after a off season of conditioning and coaching and film watching, and that Joyner can do in that position. If he can stay healthy.
Everything that Cael said is pretty smart.
Trey Smith, he was a big time wide receiver prospect. He was the number one player out of South Carolina.
Right.
He was a top 100 prospect. He's even a player we beat Clemson for. But since
Clemson wasn't bad.
He doesn't have the speed
Well, you know why? You know why that he's not like worth a shit, right? Right, Kuhn?
Well, his knee is
pretty good prospect in high school.
You could be a great prospect in high school. Brandon Roscoe Crosby was a great prospect in high school and didn't pan out to shit.
Got bad coaching.
Yeah, no.
But here's the thing.
So was Willie Corn.
Willie Corn with a K now. The thing with Smith is I think the talent's there. The problem is his knee, and I'm not a doctor, but his knee is a genetic issue. And apparently they fixed it, but I'm not sure how well you fix it. And, so I don't know what to expect from him. I like to think he's back healthy 100% and we can see it, but I think the key is going to be Shi Smith. Shi Smith has to go to that next level, and Josh Van needs to wake the hell up. That's the guy who needs to wake up too. But to answer your question, though, Brandon, the Gamecocks are gonna be running the ball this year. Marshawn Lloyd apparently is the real deal from my sources. Prentice up there blocking the line is a lot better than Rob gives him credit for. I think we're going to be a run team. We're going to pound teams. We're going to play kind of close to the vest. We'll play action. Okay, maybe Shi Smith can get behind some defenders. And we're going to play ball control, smash mouth, 1990-91 SEC football before Spurrier got to Florida and really changed up the whole thing. I'm talking Georgia football, tailback you, okay? And I think that's how we win this year.
There's
everything Mike just said.
Of course you do. You got
a lot of people are comparing Marshawn Lloyd to some elite level running backs that have played in the SEC recently. Even Mark Richt over on his Twitter handle at Overpaid Vacation Bible School Teacher says that they look like twins with him and the 2014 version of Nick Chubb. So
there you go. And by the way, Mark Richt is technically a family member. My wife is a distant relative of Mark Richt. I found it out like last year. Distant through marriage.
Wow.
We're
Wow.
family.
There you go.
We're basically family. So don't be too hard on them now.
The happiest person this year is, if the football season didn't happen, I think the happiest person would be Dabo, because he wouldn't have to go against the Bobo offense this year.
That is true. They're still tired.
Brandon. That's the kind of thing that makes you silly.
Brock Lee over on YouTube says he's hyped for Joyner. He thinks he'll be really good. I think you're right. He's the past couple of years been yanked around a little bit. We need you here. We need you there. We need you to do this. We need you to sit out here. This guy's hurt. Oh, boom. We need you to go over here. He needs to be in one position, one place. He's a kid. Let him stay focused. Let him work on his game. Let him perfect his craft. Because he is an athlete. He is good.
I want to see him. We haven't really seen him yet full Joyner with the hamstrings that are okay, that he can really get it going. We haven't really seen that yet. So I'm looking forward to some healthy, looking the slot a little bit, quickly, in open field, what he can do. So I'm looking forward to that, to actually see his athleticism come out.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. So the phone lines are still open, but I can't let Brandon just sit here and just talk about the eight-string game.
All facts. He brought facts.
I'm excited. I really, really think that the what is his name, Coach Jackson, strength and conditioning dude that came from Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Mike Jackson, is that his name? That's a hell of an addition to the staff. I mean, you can make the argument that's like the second most important coaching position on a team other than the head coach. If they don't get any of the accolades. I mean, you have to do if your strength and conditioning program is not right, if these guys aren't in shape, these guys aren't hydrated, these guys aren't that you'll have a ton of injuries, you'll have a hell of a lot of problems. And we've seen that happen just a lot since 2016, and hopefully this guy can fix that and right some of those wrongs, man. Because we have been there are so many what might have been if we could have stayed healthy. It's every year. If we could stay healthy, so many what might have been. And I mean, coming over from Ole Miss, he did a good job there. I mean, I don't know that Ole Miss had a hell of a lot of injuries, but in that Egg Bowl, that kid for them that scored that last touchdown got the unsportsmanlike penalty, lifted up and did the stanky leg in the end zone. He was only able to do that because of the stretches that Mike Jackson taught him.
That's a good point, Cael. He Mike Jackson taught him to be an asshole. That's basically what Mike Jackson did.
I'm just being stupid.
Since the University of South Carolina football team's full of assholes on the coaching staff, well, why not have one trainer as well? I want to get into this tonight too. By the way, Phil Steele released his top 25, and I thought we would do. I'd give you the teams, and you could tell me whether or not you feel confident in where they're ranked. As we wait on the gentleman that said that he was smarter than Comrade and I, and all kind of stuff.
Hey, maybe you,
Mike, Rob, is a magazine. I saw it on Twitter like a month ago that he said he was only going to have it available for mail order, but then I heard that it's going to be in Barnes and Noble. I don't know when. What have you heard?
I've heard he's only doing digital, but I don't know.
That's what I heard too. If I could get my hands on a hard copy, I'd like it.
I gotta go.
I'm gonna give you what you got, Mike. Go ahead.
I heard he's printing it now, but because I think he went ahead with it when we got some good news like a month, 2 months ago. That looked like it was being good for a college football season. He went ahead and did it.
Right.
But of course now it's not looking too great. But I think it will be printed somewhere. But I'm not sure the circulation will be quite like it normally is.
Yeah, nobody wants to send a bag of COVID to your house. All right, so I'm going to give you the team, and I just want you to tell me if you think they're overrated, shouldn't be there, or you think they're maybe a little bit underrated. At 25, he's got Memphis. What do you think about Memphis at number 25? Cael, overrated, underrated? What you got?
I think it's about right.
All right,
I mean,
what you got?
They got I don't know what their new coach can do, but
yeah, still got some talent there.
Yeah,
Mike, you agree with Memphis at 25?
I'll say a little overrated by a couple spots. I don't think they're quite top 25 team.
Oklahoma State's at 24. I think that's a little underrated, in my opinion. I think they're going to have a great offense this year. They're going to move the ball around a little bit. Will Chuba Hubbard get the crazy amount of carries that he wants? That's the big thing with them, but I think that's a little underrated for the Cowboys. Caleb, what about you? You on that board with that?
Yeah, I'm underrated as well. When you got a running back with that kind of talent that can rush for that many yards, and he's playing a bunch of Big 12 offensive, 24 is way too low. They got a pretty good quarterback too, and they got the mullet.
The mullet's great,
and he's always a problem.
He is a problem. Mike, now it's your turn.
I hate to agree because that's boring to agree, but I think they're a solid top 20 team, maybe a top 15 team in that range, 15 to 20 in that range. So, yes, underrated. I'll go with that as well.
Up next is Iowa at 23. And it is with the Hawkeyes at 23. It's kind of hard for me to say that they're underrated. I think that's just about right.
I'm going overrated. I don't think they're a top 25 team. Sorry. I don't believe in the Hawkeyes.
Cael, are you buying what the Hawkeyes are selling?
I think that's about right. I think Nate Stanley is gone. And that was, a big deal offensively for them. That's a team that is like, as you like to say, likes to muddy up games, rely on the rushing attack, only pass when they have to. And he's gone. So I think they're always going to be right there in that range. They're going to be in the 25 to 15 range, never really good, but never falling off the grid, always a bowl team. So I would think that that's about correct.
Mike, are you buying? You've already done yours with Iowa.
Yeah, right.
We'll move on to UCF at 22. I'm not buying any of these non-Power 5 teams, by the way. I don't feel real confident about any of them. So UCF does not belong in the top 25. I think Phil Steele's just trying to cater to Florida just a little bit, in my opinion. But UCF shouldn't be there. Cael, are you buying that too?
No, that's about right. I mean, they return a solid defense, especially in the defensive backfield. Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback, just another one in a long line of talented guys. They return a talented running back. They're going to score a lot of points. But they're not going to be able to crack, higher than the top 15 level. So I think that's about accurate.
Mike, what do you think about UCF?
I agree with Cael. I think I don't think they'll be in the top 20 though. I think 21, 22 is probably their peak. I think they're more like a 25th ranked team. So they're kind of about right around there.
He's got them about at their ceiling.
Yeah.
All right. So for folks watching online, this is going to be the point where you're going to have these two gentlemen who think that their program is valid in the SEC, but they're really not. And they're going to say point blank that this team doesn't belong in the top 25. I think this team will smoke South Carolina this year. I would be surprised if the Gamecocks scored 6 points on this team this year. And that would be the Kentucky Wildcats at number 21. They are highly underrated. In my opinion, they should be about 15 or so. And I can tell you why. Now, it's not, let's see the comrade shaking his head there because he thinks, by God, we've got Will Muschamp and we're South Carolina and we're just better than Kentucky, even though his team's lost 5 out of the last 6.
How's your eyebrows doing, Flasher? How's your eyebrows?
Let me finish what I'm going to say here, my friend.
You be a Flasher? Did you guarantee?
Mike, they didn't have their quarterback, so stop it. Let me finish.
Excuses.
Let me finish.
Do we have our quarterback last year? Do we have our quarterback last year? Do we have our quarterback last year?
Now you're being stupid. Let's turn you off, and then I'll turn you back on.
Rob, Mike.
What, Cael?
You're gonna have to bear with me as long as you can. My phone is about 20%, and the power just went out here in the Poconos. You can see it's dark, so I'll stay with you guys as long as I can. But when this goes dead, I'm done.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll just go through it as fast as we can here with you, Cael. Anyway, the big thing.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Should have you're on vacation. Kentucky's defense is probably going to be the best of the Stoops era. And the comrade, like, he loves what Will Muschamp calls him a great defensive coach. He's not as good as Mark Stoops is. Not as good as Mark Stoops is. Sorry. Kentucky's going to have one of the top ranked defenses in the SEC. They're also going to win at the offensive line because they got 4 of their offensive linemen returning, in addition to
What about their best lineman? Where did he go?
Huh?
Their best lineman. Is he back next year? Their best lineman last year. Is he back? No. He's not.
I have to look.
No, he's not.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Kentucky is highly, highly underrated. Cael, what's your thing on the Wildcats? Is that too low or too high?
I think it's a little bit too high. Really good offensive line. Can't argue with it defensively. You gave up a lot of points. Gamecocks last year. You gave up some points to some teams. Virginia Tech scored a busload against them in a bowl game. It kind of got in the shootout. I don't really know where those numbers are coming from, but at any rate, the lack of you don't have receivers that really kind of scare anybody. The running back position, they called a 3-headed monster there with Daniel or Christopher Rodriguez, I think his name is, Kavoisi Smoke, and AJ Rose. I mean, nobody's ever heard of these jabronis. I mean, this is not a Benny Snell and whatever. So they're serviceable dudes. Okay. So if you are playing, one of these terrible teams with terrible linebackers and terrible rush D, I mean, they may be able to put up a few points with these mediocre backs just because of the fact they got a good offensive line. But the quarterback is horrible. So, I mean, anybody with a shit quarterback that you are forced to bring back, that's your only option. After being out from the ear with injury, you haven't groomed anything else to take his place. Being ranked number 21, no, I don't see it. I see them just on the fringe of the top 30.
All right. Well, you mentioned the defense last season. Just some numbers there. Number 14 in the country in scoring defense last year. Number 2 in pass defense. So that, my friends, is pretty good. And a lot of that's coming back. They also bring back a couple of guys. Cash Daniel's gone, which is Cael Hall's son, I believe. Calvin Taylor Jr. returns. Also, Pascal Watson and DeAndre Square are talked about some that they could be potential all SEC type linebackers. So there's that. Now, comrade, tell us how Kentucky sucks. Go ahead. We're waiting.
Well, first of all, your little argument last year that they didn't have their quarterback. We didn't have our quarterback either. Agree?
It doesn't matter about the quarterback. It doesn't matter.
Then why did you say
we wouldn't have won anyway?
What's your excuse? Okay, all right. But your first excuse was they have a quarterback. I mean, so you can't take matter.
Playing quarterback. Lynn J. Bowden plays quarterback. They beat you by 20.
Okay. Well,
you weren't
so why wasn't he playing quarterback? Why wasn't he playing quarterback against us?
Because they were trying to keep him at wide receiver because that.
So you're saying it was a bad coaching decision by Kentucky? You're saying Mark Stoops didn't do
No, he is a better wide receiver. That's why he got drafted.
You're trying to tell me that they play him at quarterback. They only made 25 points, and they didn't play him at quarterback.
You weren't that good. You weren't that good, Mike.
So
your quarterback was down passes to himself.
You're saying Kentucky lost because of a coaching decision. Correct?
Okay, but you're not, Mike. Once again, you're not that good. Stop thinking that you're good, Mike.
Why did Kentucky lose to Carolina last year? What's your reason again?
Because they didn't have their quarterback. If Lynn J. Bowden played quarterback, you would have lost by 20.
Why wasn't he playing quarterback?
Because they were trying to get him to play wide receiver because that was the best spot for him on the team.
Well, apparently not, because you say if he plays quarterback, they beat us.
Yeah, he does beat you.
Okay, so why was he playing quarterback then? So you're saying the coaching.
I just told you. Why do I have to repeat myself?
So Will Muschamp outcoached Mark Stoops last year. Do you agree?
Will Muschamp couldn't outcoach my daughter.
So once again, your contention is if Lynn J. Bowden plays quarterback, you win by 25 points for the Gamecocks. He didn't
20
play
points.
quarterback by 20 points. He didn't play quarterback because Mark Stoops wanted to play quarterback, and yet you're saying he didn't get out coached.
He didn't get out coached. Nope.
Right. But yeah, if you put him at quarterback, they win by 20 points.
Mike, we can go about this all night, okay? I will never say that Will Muschamp out coaches anyone. He's the worst coach in the SEC. Nothing you can say to me is going to change my mind.
The coach you love had a guy in the field that you put the quarterback that went by 20, and he didn't put him at quarterback. So who's the crappy coach?
Message to you. Fuck you. And
can't have both ways. You can't have both ways. You can't have both ways. You can't say, he's a great coach. Well, if he just put him at quarterback. Okay, so here's the thing. You win football games on the O-line and the D-line. Kentucky's O-line is not as good as last year's O-line. Okay? And their D-line is not as good as last year's D-line. They've got good linebackers, some pretty good secondary, but their D-line is not as good as last year's D-line. Okay? Throw in the fact that this year they have no quarterback play. Okay? And they have no receivers. And so they're going to try to pound the ball. They're going to try to run the ball, but their O-line is not what it was. Their D-line can't stop the run like they did last year, okay? And teams can pound them on the ground, like the Gamecocks, for example. We're going to pound them on the ground next year because our O-line is better than their D-line, okay? So that's where it is. So maybe after we beat them, you can say, well, listen, if they would have played their safety at quarterback, they win by 45 points that game. Yeah. And then say that Stoops is the greatest of all time. Okay, so anyway, you got your eyebrows shaved last year and your head shaved last year because you were wrong.
Yeah, and that's fine. And look, I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong.
Okay.
But you have a problem admitting that you're wrong about Will
You have a problem admitting. You just said that if Kentucky plays that with the limbo net quarterback, they win by 20 points. They didn't based on the coach's decision. And I said, so you get out coach. No, he didn't get out coach. Well, that makes no sense then. Makes no sense.
I don't care what you think makes sense. You still supporting a coach that's 26 and 25.
Don't change the argument. You can't.
I'm not changing the argument.
Okay,
you're talking about teams that out-coach him. Okay. Under your logic, then Eli Drinkowitz out-coached Will Muschamp last season.
He did. Did Muschamp out-coach Stoops last year?
Sure. Whatever it is, we need to say so we can move on. Because the next team that's ranked is another team that stomped that Gamecock ass. At number 20 is Tennessee. Now, once again, I think Tennessee is rated about right. Eric Gray is going to do some good stuff as far as running the ball for them. And I think that Tennessee's about a top 20 team. That makes about perfect sense. Comrade, tell us why Tennessee sucks and why South Carolina's better. Go ahead.
The media have bought into the orange Kool-Aid. Jeremy Pruitt, he's the second coming. The fact is, they sucked last year. Couldn't beat BYU. Lost to the Georgia Southern or State with the lost to. Okay, and because they won their bowl game at the end of the year, everyone's like, oh, they were right. Lost their best player. Okay, they weren't impressive, and they're going to show love this year. They will not finish ranked this year. If they play a season, they will not finish ranked. Mark it down, and I guarantee you, Tennessee fan on Twitter, okay, by November, we'll be talking about, listen, I think John Gruden wants to come back. I think John Gruden, I think he's interested in Tennessee again. I think he is, man. I tell you, Gruden
we're going to have another Gruden sighting. Another Chip Kelly sighting.
I saw Gruden's jet on campus, bro. I saw it on campus, man. Don't bother me. He's coming.
All right. Tell us about Tennessee, Cael, and why you think that they're overrated, underrated, or
another team, a really good offensive line. No issues there. Running back position, Ty Chandler, mediocre. Eric Gray, kid's a little bit above mediocre. I think that they're going to open up some holes for him. He's going to do some things. He'll find himself in that feature back spot. Tim Jordan will also. Oops, never mind. They kicked him off the team. So you only have two really coming back with some experience. Now, here's the part where it gets scary. Who are you going to be throwing the ball to? There's no Juwan Jennings coming back. There's no Marquez Callaway. These guys have been your bread and butter for the past 4 years as far as receiving. They don't have any. They have nobody coming back with any real receiving experience. So that's what I mean. They are not going to be able to just run the ball against the teams that they play. I mean, they'll tighten up and they'll shut that shit down. So I think they're rated a little bit higher. If I said I'd put Kentucky at about number 30, I'd put this team about number 28.
So what I'm understanding is that Bobo's going to bring in this fullback, and you guys plan on running the ball, but nobody's going to tighten up and stop that suck-ass South Carolina offense. So that doesn't matter, right? Okay.
Final thing,
we're talking about Tennessee right here, right?
Final thing here on that. By the way, Tennessee's got a better offensive line than South Carolina could ever dream of.
Never said they didn't this year. I don't know that they never dream of. I'm not sure about that.
Never dream of. By the way, with what you're saying here, you two are obviously predicting wins for South Carolina over both of those teams, right?
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Those are two locks in our schedule right there. Lock it.
If you guys have 8 conference games, you'll win one of them. Write that down.
Oh,
there's my thing right there for you. You'll win one conference game if you have 8.
Okay.
That's retarded. That's retarded.
Now you're being dumb.
And sad.
That's being dumb.
How's that
That's about like with me when y'all have 5 All-Americans coming back on each side of the ball saying, I think Clemson probably good for 3 losses this year.
You've got one player that is proven and worth a shit on your team, and that's J.C. Horn. The rest of the team is unproven and not worth a damn. And you know that. If you were sitting there with the truth serum injected into you, you would have it, and you would say the only player.
Ernest Jones not proven. Ernest Jones isn't proven.
I inject serum in me every time. I'm telling the truth. Tennessee and Kentucky will be beaten by the Gamecocks this year if they play.
Dylan Wonnum, he's not proven on the offense.
Not proven. No, Wonnum's not proven. No.
Big Hutch is not proven on the
not
offensive
proven.
line.
No.
Parker White's not proven kicking the ball.
They'd be on special teams at Clemson. Write that down. The only guy that'd get playing time is J.C. Horn. Rest of them, special teams. You're not that good. Stop thinking that you're good. Stop it. Tennessee and Kentucky.
Never said either of these teams were either.
Okay, but I'm just saying, you think that you're better than Tennessee and Kentucky, teams that are ranked in the preseason 25 from Phil Steele, but you're not. So let's move on.
Preseason rankings matter?
Preseason rankings are a fun thing to look at, Mike.
But do they matter? Okay. Are they fun or not? You just said they matter.
Would you rather? No, they don't matter. Would you rather be ranked or not, Mike? I know that you don't have a team that normally gets ranked because you have a coach.
You know why?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Do they give trophies out for that?
No, it's just fun. But Rob is using that as his fact that they're better. Look at the preseason rankings.
No, I'm not using that as a fact that they're better. I told you.
You just said it. No. You just said it. Look at you.
Ranked in the top 20 top 25. Yes.
So that doesn't mean anything.
We can talk about South Carolina, but they're not ranked in the top 25.
That doesn't mean anything, though. Is it fun or does it matter?
What are you talking about? It does. In the end, it doesn't matter.
Okay, all right. So
under Conrad
Black, okay? Because I will remind you.
Mike, I've already told you.
Remind you that the great Dabo Swinney.
Here's why Kentucky's better.
Okay. The great Dabo Swinney, who we wanted fired, by the way.
What?
Took over a Clemson team that was ranked in the top 10 in the preseason. Tommy Bowden, why he got fired, ranked the top 10, and Dabo took him over. Okay, everyone acts like Dabo took over some tire fire. He took over a top 10 preseason ranked team. So now the Clemson fans all say, "Well, preseason rankings don't matter." Dabo took over a team with a lot of talent. Okay, but now we act like it matters. So I'm just making sure. We're being consistent with it.
Stop throwing rocks at the throne because your team will never be as good as Clemson is right now.
Rock. I just want to make sure.
Look, here. I'm going to give you 10 seconds each on Tennessee and Kentucky on why they're better. Kentucky has a better coach that can build defense, and he's got the great offensive line returning and a couple of guys that could be all SEC candidates at linebacker. Tennessee has a better coach than South Carolina does, also a better offensive line, and Eric Gray is outstanding. There you go. That's why they'll beat South Carolina. That's why they'll beat them.
Mediocre.
It's not even Yeah.
Why will Kentucky beat
Brock
us?
says Israel Mukwamu isn't proven. Yes, he did well in the Georgia game, but it's all about consistency.
He's still
he gets
eating
too
the
many
hedges.
pass interference calls
Rob
called on
hates
him, sir.
Broccoli.
That makes you.
Rob hates
That
him.
makes you. No, I don't hate him. I want him to have a good career.
You hate him because
Why would I hate him?
he had the
He hasn't
most
done
hedges,
anything to me.
and you're still offended by the hedges getting eaten. You're
Oh,
still mad
Jesus
about
Christ.
it. And he ate most
Let's
hedges.
move on to another team that would stomp South Carolina's guts. Number 19 is Auburn. Overrated, underrated? Where you got them at, Cael?
That's about right. Loss of a lot of defensive talent up front. No real proven running back. Rush of defense, okay. Quarterback, pretty good. They're okay at wide receiver.
We lost Cael.
And there, Cael is gone. Cael's phone just died. Sorry about that. So the rest of it will be just the comrade and myself. It's like the good old days, comrade. When we started this show, we used to do this show and like we would talk back and forth to each other. We wouldn't even see each other. And I would cuss him and he wouldn't be able to see me cussing him. Sorry about that. Jackpot's phone died. He's on vacation.
He's on
We
vacation.
appreciate him anyway.
The Poconos. Yes.
Tony Jackson says the talent and depth alone that's about right. Destroy says pass interference is better than a 60-yard big play. Okay, if that's what you want. You shouldn't be coached up to be just the guy that gets pass interference calls. Virginia Tech is at 18. I think that is overrated. Virginia Tech is not a top 25 football team. Mike, what do you got?
I didn't answer Auburn either. Auburn's overrated as well. Why? You can't bring Chad Morrison as your OC and be 19 in the country. I'm sorry. You just can't. That dude is straight trash. Virginia Tech, I think, is overrated as well. We both kind of agree that I think the whole Fuente Virginia Tech marriage,
He doesn't want to be there.
Is about to get rocky. I don't think he's got the fans behind him.
He doesn't want to be there.
The locker room.
Some Virginia Tech told me the other day, Mike, about Virginia Tech. They said that it's like he married a woman and the woman had a car accident and now he doesn't want to be with her. He liked her beforehand, but now he doesn't. I was like, man, that's a hell of a way to look at your coach, brother. But I think they are kind of folding up on him up there.
If Blacksburg was a woman, she'd be real ugly. That's all I'm going to say. I've been before. I mean, I'd be in that room. I'm just saying.
Edwin says Auburn will skull fuck you. You suck. Thank you for
well, they don't actually play this year, so.
Well, that's true.
So
up next is Miami, number 17. I don't think that's a little bit high. I think the Hurricanes. Didn't the Hurricanes get shut out last year in their bowl game?
Yeah, I don't really bowl games. You can't. But I think bowl games. I think the polls.
The quarterback.
The preseason polls. Here's why the preseason polls are flawed. Okay, the preseason polls.
Mike, we can go over that, but I'm just asking if they're overrated or underrated, man. We know.
They're overrated because the polls take into account your bowl game. And this happened to the Gamecocks too. When the Gamecocks beat Michigan, it really elevated us in the next year about doing big things. A lot of times the bowl games don't really mean a whole lot. I mean, unless they're the big ones. And so this happens a lot. Texas a couple years ago had the big bowl win. Everyone's like, "Oh, look out for Texas!" And then they blew dick. I think Miami's. I think Miami's on the way back, though. I do think on their way back. I would say
Miami or Texas.
Miami.
Oh God.
Okay.
If I'm buying that,
I would say Miami's net. I think 17 is probably their peak. I'd say they're more top 20 in that range, 18, 19, 20. But I think Miami's in the way back. They're not going to get back to what 1980s Miami or 2001 Miami, but they're going to be back to being a functional team that can be a top 20 team consistently for years to come.
17. North Carolina is at 16. I think that's too high for the Tar Heels. I think they should be about 20th. They probably should be a little more higher if they had that, or probably be a little lower if they had their conference schedule. Cael Hall is back with us.
I'm back. The power
Jack,
came back on, and
all right, Cael Hall.
North Carolina's at 16, Cael. Or you think that's too high? I think that's too high for the Tar Heels.
Who's at what?
North Carolina's at 16. Is that too high?
Well, everybody seems to be in love with them. You can't really. That's about right. I mean, that's really where you need to play. So, look, bro, you got to have a second best team in the ACC. I mean, you got a team that's number 1 or number 2 in Clemson. So, that really lends a lot to your conference. You don't even have anybody inside the top 20 for the second best team in the conference. And I think that's the second best team in the conference. So that's about right with the returning sophomore quarterback. Hopefully he doesn't hit that sophomore slump. So I'd like to see what he can do, because that kid can toss that thing. I think that's about right. They return almost everybody on both sides of the ball from a team that really looked good last year. Do I think they're going to be built to make a 5-6 year run like Walt Duck-Tula thinks they're going to be the team to challenge Clemson for the future in the ACC? Not so sure about that, but this coming year, yeah, I really do. I think that's about right.
Mike, tell us why the Tar Heels suck, because I know you're not on board.
I don't say they suck, but they're not. Everyone is going way overboard in UNC. Now, granted, the ACC is horrible. They're among the elite in the ACC. That's not saying a whole lot. I think they have a little they kind of take a step back this year. I could see them being ranked 25th in the country at the end of the year, in that range. But I don't think they're going to be quite what they were last year or do what everyone thinks they're going to do the next step. So,
Michigan's at number 15. I don't buy into Big Ten teams. It's just my opinion. Big Ten teams are always overhyped, and they always rarely deliver when it comes down to nut cutting time. I'm not buying anything with Big Ten teams. Michigan and Harbaugh, I don't think he really wants to be there either. The guy's just a weirdo. Just a weirdo. You could be a weirdo if you win, but they can't beat Ohio State. They can't win the Big Ten. I think Michigan's overrated. I think they should be like 22nd at best. Overrated or underrated there, Mike?
A little bit overrated. I think they're in the 20 range. I don't think they're too horrible. They have a lot of talent. And once again, the Big Ten isn't a great conference. And besides Ohio State, Michigan's got a ton of talent. They don't match with Ohio State well, but they have a lot of talent there. And they'll get enough wins to make sure they're ranked in that 18, 19, 20 range at the end of the year. So it's just the way it is. You could coach there, Rob, and you could coach there and get 9 wins a year. Just roll out of bed.
I'm not a football coach.
They're just,
There's a million reasons why I don't coach football. What do you got, Cael, on Michigan? They are at 15. Are you buying that or selling?
Probably a tad overrated. Who's going to play quarterback there? So that's the burning question. When are you going to?
Nobody really played quarterback last year. Shea Patterson sucked.
Yeah, who's gonna fill the void for the guy that sucked? We don't know. I think I figures him in for being about 3rd in the Big Ten East, and they just kind of stuck him there out of convenience. I think they really probably take the time to really research him a whole lot. They've recruited okay, but like you said, Harbaugh, I think once he figured out he couldn't beat Ohio State as a job, probably not putting 110% into it anymore, like he was back when he was giving those slumber parties a few years ago. Yeah, this is tad overrated. Swap them in Kentucky. That'd be a good matchup. Yeah.
Up next is another big team at 14 in Wisconsin. Once again, not buying Big Ten teams, ladies and gentlemen. Big Ten sucks. I'm just not buying them at all. Unless you're Ohio State, rest of the conference pretty much sucks, in my opinion. But Phil Steele has Wisconsin at 14. I think all the Big Ten teams, all of the supposedly good teams other than Ohio State, all should be ranked about 21st. I think that a lot of writers and stuff that write into polls, and you'll see all these teams that are ranked highly. I think that they all went to Northwestern and they remember Ohio State and Michigan stomping that ass like 20 years ago when they were in college. And that's why we get so many overrated teams coming from the Big Ten. Carolina jackpot dropped out on us again. Poor guy. Are you buying Wisconsin or selling there, comrade?
I kind of like Wisconsin. They're not a threat to win, go to the playoffs, something like that. But they're a solid team. I think 14-15 is about right. If they do what they do well, I mean, they're not going to go and beat. They're not going to come down and beat the Clemson or beat, Alabama or Florida. But I think they'll be a team that can beat the Big Ten. So I see them about 14.
Cael, Wisconsin's at 14. Is that too high?
No, that's probably about right. I mean, the quarterback play is not going to be good. Their quarterback play is never really the strength of their team. We'll see what they got to do to replace old Jonathan Taylor if they can run the ball a little bit with a big offensive line. They always got a good offensive line and always a solid defense. They'll be okay. Number 14 is about right for them. I don't get it with you. I don't get it with you telling out that everybody this Big Ten team sucks. Well, they suck. I mean, they suck. Every conference out there has a couple of elite teams. Every one of them has a bunch of middle of the road teams, and then a few of them have they have the bottom dwellers. Wisconsin stuck. Just because they're in the Big Ten, I mean, goddamn! Y'all's whole conference sucks, except for y'all. So I mean, y'all the damn high horse.
Fact.
Shit.
Yeah, a Clemson fan should not be mocking.
They just about might take you up there to Camp Randall and road grade y'all sorry asses.
Yeah, Clemson fans shouldn't be talking down to a conference.
But first of all, it's kind of hard to really hear you talk about Clemson when your current coaching staff can't get within 3 touchdowns.
But we've never found it out. Y'all be scared to play them. We want to play a team like Texas A&M. We can match up with a little bit.
Clemson is scheduled Auburn. Clemson is scheduled Georgia for next year. Is that not? Those aren't good teams.
No, y'all not going to go on the road.
We're playing Georgia in the opener. Does Georgia suck ass?
Georgia sucks.
If so,
all you do, you sit here 24/7 talk shit about Georgia.
I don't think Georgia's going to be
good. And now why are you throwing it out there? Why are you sitting there and throwing it out there like it's some big measuring stick? Make your mind up, sir.
I know. I can make my mind up, and I can
say what you mean and mean what you say.
Okay, well, look, I think there's one team in the country that can beat Clemson, and it's Alabama. The rest of you are just a bunch of busters that are going to be filling out games. How's that sound?
Shit. Ohio State beat y'all last year anyway.
No. The scoreboard did not say that, sir. Sorry if that hurts your feelings.
Yeah.
We can get you an Ohio State T-shirt, Cael, if you want it. I'd be happy to order one for you.
Good. It'll look good inside my long-sleeve Penn State T-shirt.
That's good. You know what? If you went to Penn State and were recruited, you'd be like our buddy Mike Muse. Sandusky wouldn't have touched you. Up next, thank God. Number 13 is Florida. Florida's at 13. I think that's about right for the Gators. Keith says, "Why are we listening to Cael's neck beard?" Holy shit. Holy shit. Keith just took over the show. Florida's at 13. I think that's about right. Comrade, you don't like Florida either. You think South Carolina's better than Florida. Go ahead and tell us why.
I didn't say they're better than Florida. I just said that we could beat them.
in the Florida preview they were going to lose to South Carolina.
Yeah, but sometimes you beat teams at that on a given day. I think 13 is about right. I think right there's 13 is perfect. Good job by young Phil Steele. I like 13.
Cael, do you like Florida at 13?
I think that's probably a little bit too low. I mean, they're returning. That's probably the best quarterback in the SEC. They're returning numbers wise, and they're pretty good to skill positions. And in the defensive backfield, which I think, and I call the skill positions of the defense, they're good there too. I think Florida's a top 10 team for sure. That's a little bit low in my opinion.
No, we lost Cael.
And Jackpot dropping off again. Anyway, we'll move on to Texas at 12. Texas is not the 12th ranked team in the country. I think Comrade and I will both would agree on that. Texas we're a long way off. Tell us about.
I think Texas could be like a top 20 team, but more at the back end of top 18, 19, 20 in that range. Once again, I think there's a cry every year of the last couple of years for Texas to be back, and they love Tom Herman like crazy. They just don't quite take care of business during the season. So I'm about 18. I'll put Texas about 18 or so.
Up next on Phil Steele's poll, as we go overrated, underrated this evening here on the Rob Comrade and Cael Show, we have Southern Cal. Boy, that's a team that could use a good season if their coach is going to be there. It seems like just vanilla. By the way, Destroy says Texas is a clown show. Alex says Texas is way too high. Same thing for Tony. Texas versus Tennessee should be fun to watch, says Brock. So yeah, it looks like we all can agree that we're not on the Texas bandwagon. Comrade, tell us a little bit about the next team on the list. That is at 11.
I can't hear you. You're breaking up on me. I missed that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Tell us a little bit about Southern Cal. They're the next team on the list at 11.
Well, it's kind of hard to talk about Southern Cal because I'm not sure they're going to play a football season. They seem really kind of out there, but I like their quarterback. And the problem, the good thing about them is the Pac-12, as mentioned before, isn't real deep. Southern Cal should be a lot better every year. I think being this ranked is a little bit too high. The recruiting class they've had just coming in is not very good. But they have a quarterback who can play, and that's a difference maker too. But I think we're a little bit too high in Southern Cal. I think they're a fringe top 20 team, maybe 22, 23 in that range. But I'm more worried about Southern Cal in the future, the next 2 or 3 years, because I think this is their best chance of having a decent team. I think next year and the year after, it could be some low points for them. You'll probably see them with a new coach and all that stuff too. But Southern Cal was a team as a kid that I at least loved to watch play. And it's kind of I think they're heading the wrong direction quickly.
Cael, your thoughts on Southern Cal at 11?
Too high.
You got Southern Cal. Yeah, go ahead.
I can't get the connection. This is horrible. The connection, the
All
internet, everything.
Cael,
Southern Cal.
Cael, we'll talk to you on Sunday, brother.
On the way out, yeah. And no,
right.
I'm not believing in them.
Hey, Cael. What I tell you what, man, we'll just talk to you on Sunday, brother. You enjoy your vacation. It's because you're jumping in and out on us, man. We'll just talk to you on Sunday. Okay, buddy. Thanks for taking some time out, man. All right, thanks for Cael. All right, comrade, let's go to the top 10. So number 10 is Penn State. I like Coach Franklin a good bit, but I don't. Once again, it comes back to my whole Big Ten theory that come nut cutting time, they're not really that good. So I think that's a little overrated. I think Penn State's probably about 15th. Over or under on Penn State, comrade?
About right. I mean, I understand something too. There's a big gap in college football. So, you think of Penn State. In the past when I was growing up, it seemed like there was a little more parity in the top 10. Nowadays, like the 10th ranked team, as you said, has no chance of beating, winning the national title or beating like the best teams. So it seems like they're not a top 10 team, but like who is better than Penn State though? Like in terms of like, are there 15 teams better than Penn State? Probably not. I think 10's about right, but I'm not sitting there saying that they're a legit team to win a national championship. But I don't think there's 10 teams that can win it all this year. There's probably about 5 teams, maybe. That's stretching that. Maybe 4 that really you can sit there and say can win it all this year. So if you're a top 10, you're as you said, they're during nut cutting time, they can't get it done. Well, that's that's about right then. Because really it's about 4 or 5 teams who win it all this year, and I'm being kind of generous on that too.
Chris calls them Ped State. That's kind of funny. Up next is Oregon at number 9. Mario Cristobal up there doing his thing with the Ducks. Maybe I don't watch enough Oregon football. I did watch a little bit of it last year. I think they've got a good piece of that team coming back. So I think a Pac-12 team should be up there. So I'll buy Oregon at 9.
I like Oregon at 9 too. It's a shame they're going to miss out in that game early in the year with this crap to go on. What's that? Yeah,
with Ohio State.
Ohio State was to come out there, and originally there'd be no fans, which would have stunk. I mean, you finally get a big game like that, and they're coming to your campus and not going to have fans. And now it turns out that the Big Ten is going to play at a conference game, so they lose that game. That would have been a great test because Ohio State, as much as I hate them, Ohio State talent-wise is up there. They're a team that can win a national title every year. They're not far. You watch the Clemson game; they're right there, and you can sit there and say that you kicked their ass, but you didn't. Ohio State's got talent to win a national title. Same with Bama and LSU and Clemson. LSU last year. Something good to see kind of Oregon play Ohio State and see where they are. Because the same kind of thing. Oregon's been really good for a number of years, but we see them within the lens of the Pac-12, and to see them play Ohio State early in the year this year would have been really cool as a measuring stick to take them seriously. Because if we had a normal season this year, if they win that game, well, suddenly they're on a fast track now as a playoff team. Because now you can't bitch about their schedule. If they go 12-0, you can't be willing to play the Pac-12. They blow. If they beat Ohio State and take care of them, you can't use the whole, who have they beaten? The Pac-12 is down this year, So I feel bad for them because it was a chance really to kind of vindicate their program, or they could have been found out too. Ohio State could have come out there and beat them by 24 points and been like, yeah, you're not even that. So it can backfire too. You can be found out quickly, and you find out real quick. Sorry, you stink and your conference stinks.
Alec with a great quote on the in the chat room over here says Oregon is killing it in recruiting. They'll be a contender in the next few years. Perfect ranking for them now. Thank you for contributing to the show. By the way, Destroy on YouTube. What a great name. It looks like his YouTube profile picture is like an anaconda eye or something. Maybe he can explain that to us. But he says, I'm sure they got Notre Dame up there in some absurd ranking. He called it number 8, Notre Dame. Notre Dame, of course, I had my Notre Dame expert on the other day, and he told me that Ian Book is the best quarterback that has played for the Irish in like the past 20 years. So they're real high on Ian Book up there. I think that Notre Dame gets there's just a lot of stuff that they get a lot more from writers and stuff, just for stuff they did a long time ago. And I'm not really buying into the Fighting Irish. Just a little bit too high. And the sad thing is that is according to ESPN's FPI, the toughest game on Clemson's schedule. Notre Dame may not be ranked. If we had the full season and Clemson played Notre Dame when they were supposed to, November 7th, 14th, whenever it was, Notre Dame could be at a point where they're not ranked by the time they get there. I think Notre Dame's going to be really off. They're going to be one of those teams that, there's one team in the top 25 or the top 10 every year that doesn't end up ranked. Yeah, I think that's Notre Dame. Are you buying Notre Dame this year, Mike?
Well, see, once again, back to the point made before. I don't think Notre Dame can win a national title this year. I don't think they're a national title contender. I think if they play Clemson, Bama, LSU, name the contenders, I think they all beat them. And beat them probably, pretty handily. Now, obviously, into the Clemson game, if Clemson play well, anything can happen. But that being said, how many great teams are there? If there's only 4 or 5 teams that can win it all, legitimately, I think Notre Dame is probably right around there. They're probably in that. 8 might be a little bit high, but they're in that 9-10 range. They're with Penn State, in that range with Michigan and right around there. I think we look at those teams, we don't see, we kind of view them overrated, but then you have to ask yourself, well, who should be there instead? And you can't really name the teams. You can't, no one can, because you think about it, the college football is very top heavy. It's been that way for a few years now, but it's very, very top heavy. And so I don't think Notre Dame's overrated too much here. I think it's about right. And by the way, I think Brian Kelly might be the best coach in the country. And I don't think people give him enough credit. And I don't think enough. What's that?
You take Kelly over Saban?
It's Brian Kelly's job is much harder than Saban's job is. And I think he won't get his due until he leaves. I think when he goes, and I think Notre Dame's have a really hard time with a bunch of different coaches after Brian Kelly leaves. I'm not sure he's going to leave if he gets offered somewhere else, or if Notre Dame gets like Tennessee and says, like with Philip Fulmer, we just hey, we can do better. Yeah.
Look, I get what you're saying there, but I ask you just a direct question. Would you rather have Kelly or Nick Saban? You said he's the best coach in the country. I think the best coach in the country is Nick Saban.
I haven't seen Nick Saban take over a job like this and get him the top 10. I mean, Nick Saban was at Michigan State. I mean, how good were they?
Holy shit.
I mean, they were decent, but how good were they? Notre Dame's a tough job. Notre Dame's a tough job because it's not like it was. Everyone's on TV now. Notre Dame used to be able to recruit by, hey, watch your son play on TV. Come Notre Dame, will be on TV. Every game's on TV now. So now you got to recruit to South Bend, Indiana. Have you been to South Bend, Indiana before? Okay, it's not like exactly the greatest place in the world to go. Secondly, they have recruiting restrictions in terms of academic-wise. It's tough to get kids qualified to go there. They have that thing. Lou Holtz used to kind of bend the rules there on that and kind of try to get not rules, but try to kind of get kids in that normally wouldn't get in Notre Dame. So it's a tougher job. So I think Nick Saban, could he do it? I don't know. I'm not sure if Nick Saban could get Notre Dame to a national title game like Brian Kelly did. Right. They got their ass kicked, or to a playoff game. What national title game too? Didn't he go to a national title game that killed? Or right thing in playoff game. He's been to and he's been really good wherever he's gone too. I just think that Brian Kelly's going to get credit. I think he will when he eventually leaves, and you see Notre Dame struggle, to get back to being relevant, because they're pretty relevant now. They're top 10. And you can argue that they're overrated a little bit, but they're being talked about. Right. I think when he leaves, they're going to be kind of how they were for a period before Holtz got there. They're getting blown out. I think they're going to struggle, and they may be struggling for a long, long time. And I think Brian Kelly will get his due about what a great job he did. So I'm
not trying to piss in your cornflakes here, but in Nick Saban's final year at Michigan State, they went 9-2, and finished 7th overall in the country. So he did take them to a top 10 performance while he was there at Michigan State.
Okay, but Brian Kelly got Notre Dame to the Final Four, didn't he?
That's fine. They didn't have a Final Four back then. So you're saying you would take?
Well, I know that, but they're 7th in the country. They weren't ranked in the 4th in the country. Is my whole point. So that's my whole point.
You said top 10 earlier.
Well, I know, but he's gotten to the playoffs twice, hasn't he?
Okay.
So I know.
Can you just answer the question for me? Would you have him in the top 10, or would you have Brian Kelly or Nick Saban? That's all I'm asking. Yes or no? Don't give me a book. Just say yes or no.
I'd probably take Brian Kelly.
Wow.
I think Saban's needed to have that talent base and easy to recruit places. LSU, Alabama.
I just told you he finished 9-2 at Michigan State.
All right.
Finished 7th in the country.
And Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly.
You know what? I want to go to Michigan State. Come on, man.
Well, and Brian Kelly's done that Notre Dame year after year. He did that 1 year, correct?
No. Brian Kelly's been at Notre Dame
Nick Saban did that 1 year at Michigan State. Go through his records.
Right. I've got his records right here.
Okay.
They were a mediocre team, and then his final season, he was only there 4 years as the head coach, 96 through 99, I think I've got here.
So the peak he did was not
mediocre, and then he finally got the recruit.
I'm not saying Saban's a great coach, but I'm just saying that at Michigan State, which has its limitations, he wasn't putting them in national title contention. That's all I'm saying. So Brian Kelly has had him in the playoffs 2 different times. They get their ass kicked in the playoffs. Can
I put you on to go with Brian Kelly over Nick Saban?
I would take him. That's what you're saying. If I'm an AD, and depending on who I'm trying to hire for, Brian Kelly, I think, can do more with less than Nick Saban. I haven't seen Saban. Saban's great. Saban's great at recruiting the talent. Alabama LSU recruits itself. He's good at managing elite players, their egos, and keeping them motivated. He's kind of like John Calipari at Kentucky, right? He's great at that. Not all guys can do that. Some guys struggle when you have tons of talent, egos, and getting them all to kind of pull in the same direction. So Saban's a great coach. But I'm just saying that Brian Kelly, I think you're going to see how great he is once he leaves Notre Dame, because Notre Dame's going to struggle for a long time.
Comrade's getting beat up in the comments. Tony says you're a lunatic.
That's a Georgia fan.
Jared will take Comrade.
You'll see. When Brian Kelly leaves Notre Dame, watch out with Notre Dame.
I want to make sure that people know, from my perspective, if you told me I could have any coach in the country to coach my team, I want Nick Saban number 1, and then there's a huge drop after that. In my opinion, Nick Saban is just that good. I just think that it's kind of shocked that Comrade would come with that. I really.
Really.
When
Saban has the talent level, when the talent level is equalized, what happens to him?
Okay, we just need to move on.
Michigan State, he had 1 good year. He went to the Dolphins in the NFL. Suddenly now it's all about coaching and game planning.
He was there for a year and they went 8-8. They've been shit pretty much since.
Okay, so I'm just saying, he's good at Bama LSU. Go to the hotbeds and the place where you can recruit and talent. He's good at that. He's good at coaching talent. I think Brian Kelly has done a really good job.
Number 7 on the list. That's probably the worst take in the history of this show.
Yeah, it's great. You'll see.
Number 7 is Georgia. The Georgia Bulldogs at 7. I think Florida's better than they are, but I think that Florida should probably be. I said that I would put Florida in above a couple of these teams here. Now that I'm looking at it, but Georgia's about right, man. I think the Bulldogs are gonna have a good defense this year. I really do. So there's that with Georgia. Do you think 7's too high for Georgia?
A little too high. I agree. I think Florida's better than Georgia this year because of the quarterback situation. But I mean, and I think Georgia though is Georgia better than Notre Dame? Probably. Are they better than Penn State? Probably. I mean, I guess it's probably Florida's probably. I think Florida's probably too underrated. I might put Georgia at 8, Florida at 7, Notre Dame at 9, like that.
Number 6 on the list is LSU. I think LSU they've got talent there.
Okay,
but
real quick. Tony Jackson, I guess his LSU stint isn't known by comrade. I mentioned LSU 4 fucking times, jackass. Clean your shit out your ear. I said when he goes to programs like Alabama LSU as well. I mentioned LSU 4 fucking times. Okay, clean the shit. Maybe you got some hedges in there. Maybe we didn't eat enough hedges last year out your earlobe. Tony Jackson. Okay, jackass.
Moving on to LSU at number 6. LSU lost a ton of talent. I think LSU's a top 10, 12 team, but it's contingent on a lot. How good is Miles Brennan? How good is a lot of these other guys that are coming in? I like Jamar Chase a lot. They lose a ton of their guys as far as their linebacking core. Was it the linebackers or I can't remember, but there's a piece of the defense that's not quite going to be there yet. LSU is going to be fine, but I think 6 is a little bit high.
I think 6 is good. Yeah.
Tony says, don't matter where we're ranked, we'll go as far as the new offense takes. You know what, Tony, that's the first comment that from a Georgia fan that I think is honest. I really do. We're going to get what do you think with LSU there, Mike? Go ahead.
I like it 6. I think LSU is I think people are kind of underestimating LSU. I think going to the 4-3 defense, their defense has been really, really good. I think it will allow the offense to kind of come into its own for a while. I think their offense will be okay. I think 6 is about right. Obviously not as good as last year's team. I don't think they're as good as Bama. I don't think they'll beat Bama. But I don't see 5 teams better than LSU is probably about right. I think 6 is a good spot for them.
This is the one team that's in the top 5 that I didn't go over these rankings with the comrade before we went on the air here this evening. Texas A&M is at 5. That is too high.
I don't get that at all.
At all. I mean, really? If you go back, we talked about this the other day. If you go back and you look, and I know this sounds like I'm being petty here, but Jimbo Fisher has not been a good coach since his wife was, doing rhythmic gymnastics on the pole of a former Florida trainer. Okay, he hasn't been the same since. The only thing that's gotten better with him is he does have a 10-gallon cowboy hat now. But the reality is that Texas A&M is not that good. They are not the 5th-ranked team in the country. I think LSU is better. I think Georgia's better. I think, there are several teams there are several teams I think that are a lot better than Texas A&M. 5 is just too damn high. Stop buying into the Jimbo Fisher hype.
Yeah, I don't believe in A&M. I do like Kellen Mond, though. And I think he's a good little dark horse pick if you're going to pick a Heisman and don't want to go with the favorites of Fields and Trevor Lawrence. And when I get some bang for your buck, 50-1, throw a build on that. I could see him coming out of nowhere and putting up big numbers and having a year. If he can play, his potential is there. His consistency has been horrible. So you're hoping that one more year in the system, one more year in Jimbo Fisher has a big year. So I'm buying Kellen Mond. I'm just not buying A&M as a whole to be that good, to be up in that rank there. Maybe I think their ceiling is maybe 12th in the country, maybe 12th if everything goes right. But that's about it.
Up next is number 4, Oklahoma. I think that, man, it seems like every year I don't think much of Oklahoma, and a lot of that's because of the Big 12 and the fact that the defenses that play in there, everything's like a pinball game. But they always have the best offense in the Big 12 or one of the best. we're getting a lot of. I used to think, all right, these quarterbacks that they've got going there, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, and then who was the guy that came from Alabama? I mean,
Hurts.
It seems like they transfer in a quarterback every year, and the quarterback ends up being great. So my big thing on the Oklahoma is I'm kind of uncertain about them. I don't think they're the fourth best team in the country. I think that's just too high. Oklahoma and Texas A&M in the top 5 make no sense to me. What you got, Mike?
I think they're in that 4, 5, 6 range. I think LSU, Oklahoma. I might put LSU ahead of Oklahoma, to be honest with you. I don't know how A&M's in there. But Lincoln Riley can coach. They got talent. He's a great coach. They have struggled in the playoffs. I mean, and I think part of that is the fact that I think their talent-wise are good enough. I think what happens is their schedule kind of hurts them. I think they play in that style all year long where there's no defense, and then they play against teams with a defense, and I think it takes a while to kind of adjust those things, and it's hard to do. But I think that, I put them in that 4, 5, 6 ranking. Once again, there's not many teams that win it all. And I think they're kind of on the fringe of a team that can win it all. Can they win 2 playoff games? Probably not. But can they win 1 playoff game? Probably. I think they win 1 playoff game, depending on the matchups they get. So,
number 3 is Alabama, and I think that's too low for the Tide. I think Alabama is going to be quite possibly the best team in the country.
Yeah,
I think Clemson fans are going to be like, but Rob, I'm like, I'll tell you what I think of Clemson here in a moment. But Alabama at number 3, I think Nick Saban's on a mission. I also think that if they win out and win the national title, I think he's going to retire. So I think this is the retirement tour for Nick Saban, in my opinion. The guy's not getting any younger. I think he's 74 now. And I don't know if I think he still has the drive to do it, but you want to go out on top. If they go undefeated, win the national title, it doesn't get much better than that. So I like Alabama at number 1, in my opinion. They are the best team in the country. Number 3 is just a little bit low. Go ahead, Mike.
I agree. I think Bama's the best team right now. I mean, if you're gonna line them up right now and play, I think they're the best team in the country. Injuries can change that, of course, but as of now, how they're put together right now, I think they're the best team. I think they're the most motivated team. So I'll take Bama as 1 as well.
Clemson's at number 2. I think that's too high for Clemson. And people look at me like, wait, what? Clemson has some issues. I'll tell you what the big issues are with Clemson. They lose a bunch of the back 7 of their defense. In addition to that, they've got 1 starter returning on the offensive line. When you lose that many starters on your offensive line, you lose a guy like help me, Mike, with the linebacker that went to Arizona, whose name is like on the tip of my tongue, but I can't spit it out there.
Simmons?
Yes. When you lose Isaiah Simmons, who was an eraser, an absolute eraser, and could do so much. When you lose guys like A.J. Terrell, who was a first-round pick, Clemson is highly overrated at number 2, in my opinion. I think that they should come down a good bit, probably be until they can show you that they have the capability to back up some of that. I think putting them at preseason number 2 is just a little bit high. And by the way, Clemson fans, Xavier Thomas and KJ Henry, and there's 3 big players, in my opinion, on the Clemson defense that you have to have good seasons. Darion Kendrick at cornerback, and then Xavier Thomas and KJ Henry as far as rushing the passer. Everybody talks about what's Brian Brzee going to do. He's a freshman. I don't count anything with freshmen until they actually get out there and do something that on the college field. We could talk about this guy's going to be great. He was in high school last year. Okay? That's simple as that. The 2 guys, Xavier Thomas being the one, he has to play like he's going to be the first-round pick that he thought he was going to be coming in. If he doesn't, if he has another season like he had last year where the coaches would tell you, hey, he's dominating in practice, but not really doing much on the field, Clemson's defense could be average. Yes, they could be average. That's how important getting to the passer is this year. Clemson's got to have a good pass rush because I'm not sure that the secondary is going to be good enough to build on like they did last season. Mike, I think Clemson's too high at number 2. Who you got?
I don't think Clemson's as good as last year's team. That being said, though, I think that a lot of teams kind of took a step back, except for Bama. I think there's a bigger gap between 1 and 2 this year than last year. LSU was number 1 last year, Clemson number 2. I think the gap is bigger this year, but I still think Clemson's 2. I don't see anybody else besides Bama better than Clemson. I mean, who else you putting ahead of Clemson besides Bama? I mean, that's my question. I agree with everything you said about the struggles, but then my question besides Bama, who's ahead of them?
Right now, I think Alabama's the team that if they played today, that Alabama would beat them. I'm not. I guess I would have to say Ohio State, who, by the way, is number 1. But if you're talking about give me a team that can beat Clemson right now, I would say the first and only answer is Alabama, in my opinion, just because I think that they're that good. And I'm worried about what the Tide defense can do because towards the end of the season, they turned it up a notch, and they were pretty good.
I'll say this. I'll slightly amend it. I would say Clemson's probably 3. I'd probably go Bama, Ohio State, Clemson.
Okay.
And just because I think Clemson has a lot – I mean, I think Clemson, as the season goes on, will get a lot better. But if you're playing week 1, okay, and they got to play – Clemson plays Ohio State. I think Ohio State beats them week 1. I think Bama beats Clemson week 1. Week 12, Ohio State, Clemson, I don't know. I think that might be a different story. I think Bama wins regardless. But
I think
I'll put them at 3.
Clemson beats Oklahoma, beats Texas A&M, and probably drops the first 2 in week 1. But Ohio State's at number 1, and a lot of love for Justin Fields and everybody else. But I think Alabama's just better in my opinion. I think if they scored off with Alabama, they would lose. You buying that, comrade?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Bama, Ohio State, though, that'd be an interesting game. Maybe we'll get that. I think Ohio State impressed me last year in the loss to Clemson. I thought they, in a lot of ways, outplayed Clemson, or talent-wise, they slipped to Clemson. They made some red zone mistakes. They made some. They couldn't quite, finish when they needed to. And that part of that maybe just the fact of maybe, some of the guys not being there. I think those guys got experience, guys like Fields and those things too. So they could be tough this year in a Bama-Ohio State national title game. Could be interesting. That game with Clemson last year maybe propels them to make a play or two late to beat Bama maybe. I don't know.
Well, there you go. There's our over and underrated for Clemson, for Phil Steele's top 25. I think the worst team that they have in the top 5 is freaking Texas A&M. My goodness, he must be reaching. We're going to take a little bit of time here before we get out of here. If you want to call into the show, feel free. If you want to rip the comrade for saying that he would take Brian Kelly over Nick Saban, we'll take those calls as well. 803-470-2905. Now, I want to make sure that people understand. Comrade's not just saying what he said. He truly believes it. He's one of those guys that when he says something like that, he's not.
And I'm not knocking Saban. Okay, it's not a knock on Saban. I'm not saying Saban's a good coach. I'm just saying that the Notre Dame job is a lot tougher than people think it is. They view it as a 1980s Notre Dame job or a 19. I just don't think. I think people will get it when Brian Clay leaves Notre Dame. I think you're going to get it because I think Notre Dame's going to struggle for a long, long time. You go, man, how come they can't just be, like they were under Brian Kelly? And the answer is going to be because Brian Kelly did one hell of a job. So
803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. That's the number to call if you want to join us here on the Rob Comrade and Cael Show. Cael's up in the Poconos, scratching lottery tickets and visiting state parks. It's kind of funny. Cael goes on vacation to the Poconos. I'm going to the Poconos, ladies and gentlemen. That's what Carolina Jackpot does. You need to be following him on on YouTube. For those that are watching the show on Facebook, he's at Carolina Jackpot. Some of the comments, as we have a few minutes here, we'll take phone calls, 803-470-2905. Dennis says, Tony Jackson first Miami took Brinson, then Williams. Now we taking Wilson from Georgia. I think he's talking about some recruiting there. Tim says, Nick Saban has never been complicit in killing a student worker. Brian Kelly has the market on that one. Yeah.
Quickly coaching. I'm not going into
right
character.
Well, yeah, character doesn't matter to the comrade.
No.
Edwin says Alabama will be much more like much more like a typical Saban defense. That will be the difference for them. You could be right there. Could be right. You know, I think looking back though from last season with LSU, they got that win over Alabama. It was like almost like an Oklahoma game. Going back, it was like 45-42, something like that. Never seen a Nick Saban offense get lit up that crazily. Brian also says Edwin says if Brian Kelly was that good with a Notre Dame mystique, how is he not winning national championships? That's a good point.
Mystique is a name of a dancer at a strip club. Mystique does nothing for you in the football field. Notre Dame is a tough job.
Brock says, would you like to see Brian replace Muschamp? This is my water bottle, Brock. You see this? This is my water bottle. It's better coached than Will Muschamp.
You know, Brock, I'm telling you right now, I have thought about that, and if things don't turn around for the Gamecocks and they have to fire Muschamp, I'm telling you right now, the first call I make, I'm not saying we could get him, but the first call I make if I'm Ray, or if I don't know if Ray Tanner's going to do the hiring, but the first call I'm making to whoever makes the decision to hire the next coach is to Notre Dame and saying, can we have permission to talk to your coach? And I would give him what he wanted and say, come here. And I don't know. Would he leave Notre Dame for Carolina? He might. I know one thing. It's a tough job. I mean, Lou Holtz talks about this all the time. It's a different kind of, in terms of recruiting, you can't get everybody you want to get because of, one, where you're located. Two, the TV advantages aren't there anymore. I mean, you're on the network TV, but everyone can watch everyone play, and those things too. So he might be ready for a change of scenery. I would imagine if he wants to leave Notre Dame, he'd probably wait for maybe a little more high-profile job. Maybe wait for a Southern Cal to come open. You want to do that, but I'm not sure how much he wants to leave. But if I'm the Gamecocks and I fire Muschamp after next year, the year after, I think it's going to be about 2 more years he's going to get, by the way. But I would make the phone call to Brian Kelly.
Final call, 4 calls, 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. I'm not buying the Brian Kelly thing. I can tell you who I think.
He'd be the best coach in Gamecock history too, Brian Kelly. Be better than Spurrier.
Not saying much.
Be better than Spurrier.
That's not saying much. It's like being the world's tallest midget.
Be better than Spurrier.
Can I say midget and not get in trouble for it? We are in different times. Keith says Brian Kelly is going to go better at South Carolina than Notre Dame. Okay. Yeah. I got nothing for you on that.
What's he saying? Brian Kelly is going to be
better at South Carolina than Notre Dame. He forgot the B.
Is going to be
Brock
better.
Wants to know who.
When did I say he's me better? What the? Do people freaking listen? Did I say he'd be better here than at Notre Dame?
Dude, change your tampon. Slow down a little bit. I know you're chafed a little bit. Calm down. You've been out in the heat.
What pisses me off is that people make up shit I say, and that will be in the Facebook. You said if you came here, be better. I said if I'm the Gamecocks, I try to hire him.
Well, I'm going to tell you who I think. If I were a South Carolina fan, which God knows I'm not, but if I were a South Carolina fan and I was told, hey, you can pick out who you want, money is no object, you can offer them what they want, my first pick would be PJ Fleck. I think that what he's doing up there with Minnesota. He's built programs in several different spots. I like PJ Fleck a lot.
You take him over
Now,
Brian Kelly. If the game, I'm not. First of all, let me one more thing. I'm not saying that Brian Kelly would come here because that'll be the next fucking thing we hear. Come here, Susan. Brian Kelly's dying to come here. I'm
holy shit,
saying the dumbasses in here don't listen. I've already got one saying that he'll be better here.
Okay, look.
I've got one person saying that I said he'd be better here than he was Notre Dame.
You Russian bastard! You're having a conversation with me.
I've got one person.
I never said that.
So the next thing will be is I'm guaranteeing he's going to come here. Okay, I said I don't think he'd come here, but that's the call I would make. Okay.
I personally would go with PJ Fleck. I don't know if the fan base will consider that much of a home run hire. A couple of other coaches that I would definitely put some feelers out on is, you see, I want a guy that's going to actually build the program. I mean, you can have guys like Urban Meyer and, South Carolina's gone down that road before. I'm not being disrespectful to Coach Spurrier or Coach Holtz. Both of those guys were great coaches. But you knew going in, this is not a coach that's going to be here, 15, 20 years from now. You're just not, they're too old. Okay. I want a young guy, and I would go with PJ Fleck. He builds teams, and his players absolutely love him. And no issues up at Minnesota. Academically, they're great. Edwin's got a good point there. He likes Norvell. I don't know if I'm buying Norvell. Cristobal up at Oregon. That's an interesting pick, but a wild card pick that he did such a great job at Oregon a long time ago. I think Chip Kelly is another coach that I would take a peek at. I'm not really sure on his age, but in my opinion, where the South Carolina program is right now, where you're going to be rebuilding regardless, because I'm not in on this boat that where the comrades at, that they've got a good team. They don't. In my mind, best case scenario this year in conference, South Carolina goes 4-4 in the SEC. Middle of the road, not really worth a shit. So I'm going to start I'm going to rip everything out, and I'm going to tell the fan base, look, we're probably going to suck ass for 2 years, but we're going to spend the money in recruiting, and we're going to do a lot of great things on that front. And I would go after PJ Fleck at Minnesota, and the wild cards there, Chip Kelly. And I like the coach at Asheville, who is also a young coach that is lighting up the recruiting trail. And he's doing a lot of stuff with Asheville as far as Asheville, no, it's UNC Charlotte. UNC Charlotte's coach, Will Healy, yes. What I like about him is that he's doing a lot of stuff on social media, and that's really helping their recruiting as well.
Thing. Rover Sports asked the question, would you consider Will Healy? I would say if I was handicapping this, okay, and the bet was who will be the next Gamecock football coach, okay? Whenever Will Muschamp, whatever happens, Muschamp, okay?
Right.
I would say the favorite would probably be Will Healy.
But you don't like Will Healy, though.
What's that?
You've said on the show, and correct me if I'm wrong.
He's a Dabo ass kisser. But but no, I would say the favorite in terms of the most realistic, a guy the Gamecocks would call and a guy that would take the job. Okay, I think Will Healy. Will PJ Fleck take the job? I don't know. Will Brian Kelly take the job? Probably not.
No, I don't think Brian Kelly will, but I think PJ Fleck would leave Minnesota to come down to South Carolina. I think he would do that.
I don't know. But I think Will Healy would definitely would. So, I mean, I think if you're handicapping it, I think Will Healy will be one of the favorites to be that. But I would call Brian Kelly first. Listen, you can't be too proud to get turned down. Okay, you call and you go for the biggest fish. And you don't have to do interview, but you send out feelers, back channel feelers. Hey, you get a hold of Brian Kelly's people. What do you think about coming to Carolina? And the answer is no. Then you move on and don't bother with it, but just kind of send out feelers. But I would go Brian Kelly first. But yeah, Will Healy is probably, if you put a gun to my head and said who and told me that Will Muschamp's not going to make it. Okay, I still deep down believe you can turn it around. But you say Will Muschamp's not going to make it. Okay. And you said, by the way, he's not going to make it. And so who's your coach 5 years from now? And put a gun to my head, I would predict Will Healy. Man, prediction. Now,
my final question for you, being an alumni of the school, and I'm not throwing rocks here. I'm not trying to, this is not a South Carolina Clemson thing, but I think that, in my opinion, I think there's a section of Gamecock alumni and a lot of people out there that would like if South Carolina went after a person of color for their head coach. Because a lot of, as my good friend, I think, who was it that I was talking with about this the other day? One of my good friends told me, yeah, that's barbershop talk, Rob, but the reality is that there's a lot of people think that if there is a person of color that is a good coach, that South Carolina should go and try to do that and make that hire. Being an alumni from the university, is that something that is important to you or not?
It's important to me we find a coach to help us win. Okay?
That's true.
If the coach happens to be a person of color, that's ideal. Okay, I think that'd be a huge step in that way. But I don't want to hire someone just because of the color of his skin, and he's not a good coach because
you have A candidate and B candidate, and they're both the same. Yeah. Would you rather the school go with a person of color?
I think so. I would approve that because I think that would say a lot for in terms of the times we're in right now, and I think it would send a message too, and not everyone would like it, which is fine by me. I like when people get pissed off over that stuff. But what I would do if I'm Carolina, though, you got to make sure the guy you hire, who is the person of color, you feel he can be successful here, because you don't want to come in here and not be successful or not have a chance to be successful and not give him enough chance to be successful. And all of a sudden, you're doing a Willie Taggart thing. You get rid of him after 2 years, whatever it is, too. That looks even worse. So you got to find the right candidate in that way too. But I mean, I'm trying to think who's out there. There's some coordinators. I mean,
I know that his offense wouldn't work, but I like the Navy coach Ken Newman. I can't even pronounce his name, but there are some coordinators that are doing some good stuff too. That could make a lot of sense. And you know what? And I know that you won't like it. I know that he's a Clemson alumni, but Coach Elliott up at Clemson, I think, is a dynamite hire if South Carolina could do that. He's got recruiting ties all over the Southeast. He's respected. He's coached, two great quarterbacks that are going to be on NFL rosters. I know that you don't like him, but I'm just saying that's
I don't mind him. I wouldn't want Jeff Scott. Thank God. I don't want him. I can't.
Well, Jeff Scott's at South Florida.
I wouldn't want. I'm just saying that if you put a gun in my head, either Elliott or Jeff Scott. Yeah. So,
Rock says, all I care about is having a good coach, or having a coach that's successful, can be successful, not about race. There are no coaches of color in the SEC. Like, I'm not trying to make this a thing on race, but I think that a lot of people are getting to a point.
Derek Mason.
Where
someone didn't work out. He was there.
No, but I think a lot of people are. If you look at what Washington did with they hired a woman as onto their staff, and I think a lot of it is they're trying to send a message that they're more politically correct.
Yeah, but like the guys right now, Sumlin. I mean, he's proven that he's not very good. So I wouldn't want him. I wouldn't want Derek Mason. He's struggled. I mean, so it's got to be the right fit too. I mean, perfect world, yeah. But gun to my head, if you told me you have a new coach in 5 years, or in 3 years, or 4 years, who is it? It's probably Will Healy.
Yep.
That's my prediction.
All right. Well,
I guess I'd be okay with it. I guess. I mean, I don't know.
I wasn't trying to be divisive. I'm just saying that I think that a lot of teams are, I think, going to be in that mindset that they want to hire a person of color. I think that's going to happen. And we talked about the stuff with Coach Sweeney up there with Coach Pierman and things like that. I talked to LaVon Kirkland, and he said that he'd have a hard time sending his son, if he had a son, to go up to Clemson with some of the stuff that
Racist staff.
that happened there. The reason that I say that is I think there's a lot of people that are starting to think that way, and they'd like for their kid to go and play for a person of color. So, I mean, I think that's something that's just out there now with the way that society is. So, anyway, I think we've had a great show tonight. Sorry about Jackpot jumping in and out. We'll be back at it on Sunday. We were supposed to talk conspiracy theories today, but we challenged someone and he didn't call in because he doesn't have a set of nuts. He's an absolute eunuch. This is a guy that, real quick before we get out of here, this guy last night, my Twitter feed goes off because Pigskin Pete, friend of the show, he tweeted out something about the coronavirus. And all I said is I had the coronavirus and it sucked. And this guy put all of this stuff in my Twitter feed. It was so bad that Jonathan Rush and Kelly Nash from here in Columbia, our two radio legend guys, they were like, who the hell did you piss off on Twitter? It's like, all I said was I had the coronavirus. And he's like, it's not the virus. So I thought he would call in and we would talk about that, but he wouldn't. So we'll be back to what we did talk football tonight, but I think we're going to preview Kentucky on Sunday unless the world falls apart. But the crazy thing is that we're coming up towards the end of the month, Mike, and we're going to have the decisions from everybody as far as what they're doing with conference play, how things are going to be moved around. I mean, there's a lot of decisions going to be made in the next 10 days on the college football season. So it's heating up a little bit. By the way, if you're watching this show, go ahead.
I'm just excited this week. We got baseball. We got baseball back this weekend.
Starting tomorrow.
He starts the
God, we didn't talk any baseball, Mike. What the hell's wrong with you?
2 games tomorrow, then Friday. Everyone's actually been Friday, so knock on wood. I'm hoping they can do the whole season. Our Red Sox are probably going to be horrible. We have no pitching whatsoever, but I don't mind. I'm going to watch baseball and enjoy the nightly and daily baseball. I've missed it so much, just the every day of baseball. It's been a huge void here for me all summer long. So I'm looking forward to that this weekend.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to some baseball as well, but we should have some hardcore decisions here in the next week or so as far as the college football front. And are we staying or are we going? Somebody has to have a set of balls and just say, you know what? This is what we're going to do. Rover Sports says Yankees. He's a Yankees fan.
They're loaded. I mean, the Yankees, they're the favorites. I mean, they're the favorites. The Yankees,
and it's kind of desperate.
Well, anyway, they're built to win, so we'll see. I mean,
by the way,
they have no weaknesses.
Our phone lines are open all the time, so you can call and leave a message, and we will get it. 803-470-2905. And during the season, man, the phone lines will be up, and we'll take a lot of calls.
Okay.
But the big thing is
real quick. Levi Cael. Yeah, the Red Sox signed Mookie. First of all, if you're going to talk trash, learn how to spell socks. Okay? That's how you spell socks normally, but in baseball, it's S-O-X. Okay? Please, if you don't know the game of baseball, don't try to talk shit. It makes you look like dumb. You look at my mother-in-law trying to talk baseball, and she knows it's S-O-X. Okay? Yeah. Try it, Levi. Be better. Improve yourself. Thank you.
Jesus Christ. Well, anyway, we'll be back at it on Sunday with Jackpot in tow. Thank you guys for listening to the show. With that, it's a wrap.